Well, I had a great time being out of town. And I missed you all very much. Missed you very much. Thought about you every day. So I'm delighted to be back in the valley, be back here this morning with you. And I want to say thank you. He can't hear me right now, but to Reverend Glenn and to Suzanne Gildersleeve for providing the ecclesiastical presence last week while I was out. And a very special thank you to Joe Hammer for his message last week, his talk. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All about Captain America and decoding your destiny. And I'm happy to be continuing with our Cool Summer series, and thank you for indulging me in this and allowing us to have a little fun over these hot summer months. Last week with our last month with our Dr. Seuss stuff, and now with our superheroes this month, the superpowers within us all. And I'm going to be continuing that, looking under the capes and the masks of each of these caped crusaders that we'll be talking about all month, and seeing if maybe we don't possess a few of these superpowers ourselves. Do a little exploration there. So let's see what we're going to talk about today. That's what I grew up with. Isn't that great? I love that. I love that. I looked at the new ones and I thought, nah, this is much more fun. Much more fun. But this is our hero today, a strange visitor from another planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities beyond those of mortal men. But there was one thing, wasn't there? There was one thing that stopped him, that could stop him. Kryptonite. Remember that? Kryptonite could stop and weaken and deplete his powers. Yeah, it was that radioactive element that came to Earth in a meteor shower from the explosion of his home planet where he grew up, Krypton. So that was the only thing that could deplete him. The one thing that could stop him, could slow him down, could weaken him to mere human status. And that's my talk today. What's your kryptonite? What is your kryptonite? What is that thing in your life that slows you down, stops you, brings you down, gets you off your path? What is that thing in your life that is your kryptonite? We all have those places we like to play, perhaps sometimes. It's kind of like the kids growing up, told not to go to the creek. Don't go down to that creek. You'll get hurt. You'll twist an ankle. You'll fall in. There might be snakes, other critters, maybe poison ivy, poison oak. You could get thorns. You could get hurt. Don't go down there. But we went anyway, didn't we? We went anyway. And once in a while, we came home with a bruise or a cut or scrape or a bad case of poison ivy. Yeah, we did it anyway. We did it anyway. And I think our choices today as adults may have changed a little bit from sneaking off to the creek to play. But maybe it's things like a little too much internet time, too much Facebook time. Maybe it's too much TV. Maybe it's too much gossip. Maybe it's too much in some area of food, carbs, sugar, chocolate, alcohol. Maybe it's not enough rest that depletes us. Yeah, that's our kryptonite. I need to stay up later, longer, do more, longer to-do list. Maybe that's our kryptonite, that thing that weakens us and brings us down. And maybe it's like my friend Zig Ziglar used to say, it's our stinking thinking. Anybody heard that one? It's our stinking thinking. Yeah. So whatever it is, whatever it might be, it could be one of these things, it could be something entirely different from that for you. We know at that deepest level, don't we? That's the one. That's the one that always gets me. That's the one I can always count on. That's going to bring me down. That's my kryptonite. Steals my power, weakens my creative ability perhaps, changes my energy. All of those are states of being though, aren't they? Those are states of being in our mind. So what is your kryptonite? Just sitting here today as you're thinking about it, what comes up for you? What's your kryptonite? Better yet, another question is, how would your life be if you let it go? If you let it go. Would you be in that higher vibration we talked about a couple of weeks ago where we stay up there at that level of creation and manifestation? If we let that go, if we set that aside, if we made different choices? What if we gave up negative thinking? What if we gave up negative thinking? Things like, I'm not good enough. I don't deserve it. I can't. It won't work. It's just the way it is. It's just the way I am. Now, doesn't the science of mind, though, teach us that we're an optimistic, positive teaching, uplifting teaching, and to focus on the good and the bright side, so to speak, of life? Well, from personal experience, I can tell you that life flows a lot better when we do that, when we can anchor ourselves in that more affirmative side of life. My life flows better. My personal experience of that is my life flows better. My life flows. And what if we gave up judgment? What if that was our kryptonite? We gave up judgment. What if we gave that up? Let that go. Judgment of other people, making them wrong, blaming them, as opposed to an us or a we group. What if we did that? And what about self-judgment? Ugh. What about self-judgment? Those negative self-talk, beating ourselves up for the simplest little things, the miniature little mistakes that we make. Anybody ever tripped over something? You know, you just I do it all the time. And, I catch myself sometimes berating myself for it. And it's like, well, hello. It's little things like that, right? What if we gave that stuff up? And instead of beating ourselves up, we went, oh, honey, it's okay. Right? Give yourself a hug. It's okay. Yeah, give that stuff up. Calling ourselves names, tearing ourselves down, tearing our loved ones down, our friends, our family, our coworkers. With all the negativity in the world today that we're constantly bombarded with, shouldn't we be our own best advocates? Shouldn't in our minds it always be a happy place? Shouldn't it always be, I don't care what they say, I'm doing great, I'm okay, yes. And shouldn't we be the ones encouraging each other also? It's okay to make a mistake. It's how we learn, it's how we grow, it's how we expand. Shouldn't we be that cheerleader, that joy in each other's lives? Uplifting, encouraging, empowering. And what about worry? Anybody worry? Catch yourself worrying? Have you ever heard it's a form of negative prayer? Have you ever heard that? In Science of Mind, we teach affirmative prayer. You heard Reverend Glenn deliver a beautiful affirmative prayer this morning. And basically the teaching is that we place our word into the action of universal law, and the universal law says yes, and then brings forth, according to our beliefs, that which we have planted. Brings forth that which we have planted according to our beliefs. So why would we not think about worry as negative prayer? That whatever we're worrying about, we're planting into universal law. And universal law, remember, doesn't decide, does it? It doesn't choose for us. We do the choosing. It just says yes. So it doesn't know or care if it's negative or positive. It doesn't know or care if it's worry or affirmative. So the next time you catch yourself worrying or going into worry, think, oh, I got to switch that. I've got to switch that. And Ernest Holmes talks about the polar opposite of things. So if you're in worry about something, switch it to the opposite of that and immediately go into prayer. Go into the affirmative of what it is that you would prefer instead, and not what you're worrying about is going to happen. Right? What we focus on expands. We've had a lot of experiments about that. And that's the same with worry. What we focus on expands, so let that go and focus on that affirmative piece of it. Yeah. Ernest Holmes, as I was saying, the founder of our teaching and the author of The Science of Mind, he tells us in his little book called The Basic Ideas, thank you, Lynn, of The Science of Mind. Lynn recommended that we get these, and I've been really enjoying going back through it again. Little bitty book, jam-packed with great ideas. And in this, he tells us that today the old idea of our being like God, the image and likeness concept, it applies in a new and different but very important way. He says, since we are created of that which God is, mind, we are made of and possess God-like qualities, and we have the right and the ability to develop and use them. He goes on to say, in fact, it is necessary for us to do this if we are to fully express the life within us. Necessary that we develop these to express the life within us. God qualities, these seeds that are implanted within us at birth, before birth. It's part of who and what we are. And then over top of that is sprinkled this layer of choice. This layer of choice through which those seeds sprout and blossom within us. Because we are all at choice at how we express those. If everybody gets the same dose of love, it's going to manifest differently within each of us, isn't it? Based on our experiences and the choices that we've made in our lives. Yeah. So it's that layer of choice, that individualization within each of us that comes with that. So what is he talking about with God qualities? What are these things? It's life. It's love. It's wisdom, intelligence, peace, creativity, beauty, joy. Those are the 8 that he talks about in this book. The 8 God qualities that we all come in with. And then that layer of choice that they blossom and bloom through. Now, we have choice, of course, to fence that off, don't we? Like we've talked before about love. We can fence in our love and build a wall around our hearts and think we're protecting ourselves when in fact we're imprisoning ourselves, right? And the same is true with all of these. All of these are the seeds within us that need to grow and blossom and bloom within us to come forth into the world, that we can then experience that in the life around us. So let's talk a little bit about them. Life was the first one. And life, of course, is that which we are. It's the God spark within each and every one of us. It is that which animates us. It is the consciousness. It is the beingness of who and what we are. That we're here, we're living and breathing creatures. We are life in form and expression. We're conscious awareness. We are conscious awareness. The next, he says, is love. And we've talked all year about how God is love, as God is love, as we are, that in form. And that idea of love of ourselves first from the inside out before we can ever experience it on the outside is so very true. So very true, because we can't recognize it outside of ourselves if we can't recognize it within ourselves first. So we must first come to recognize the love within and let go of those blocks and those walls that we've put up for protection that ultimately imprison. Wisdom, experience, knowledge, and good judgment. Experience, knowledge, and good judgment. We come in with wisdom seed, and as we grow and expand in our life, we get more and more and more wise. If we pay attention, right? If we pay attention. And intelligence, of course, is our ability to acquire and apply knowledge and skills. That's how we evolve. Is we've got this wonderful mind, this wonderful ability, the intelligence is to gather and understand and then apply the knowledge that we receive. And that's how, again, we do our evolution. We can look back through humanity and we see over time how humankind has evolved. And it's because we have this intelligence and this ability to learn and then apply what we've learned. So we grow and expand. And then he says peace is another quality that we were born with. Have you ever seen a baby sleeping? Is that the most peaceful thing on the planet? I mean, it's just so sweet. So sweet. That's the peace that we're born with. And then we learn something different. And then we learn something different. But that peace is inside of each and every one of us. And it's said that if we want to see world peace, it starts within in here in each and every one of us. And if each and every person on the planet knew and understood peace within themselves, we would have a peaceful planet. We would have a peaceful planet. And joy comes from within, doesn't it? Joy doesn't come to us from external things. Joy is that which bubbles up from within us. It is truly a God quality. And I began to really embody this idea of the spiritual quality of joy in ministerial school when I began to realize that no matter what the storms were that were going on around me and how rocky the waves might be on the surface or what was happening in the world of effects and how bad they might be, there was still this inherent joy within me upon which I was able to just sort of float. And it came to an understanding for me at a level of trust and faith and absolute truth and that knowingness that God is always God. That knowingness that God is always God and that everything's really okay all the time. It really is. Even though there's effects that we experience, that which is within us, that God spark within us that knows. We are whole, perfect, complete beings. It's trust, it's faith, it's truth. It's truth. So we cannot achieve life from the outside in. We even say that around here. We're teaching successful living from the inside out, right? We can't live life from the outside in. We live life from the inside out. And we get caught up, though, in trying to experience life from the outside and seeking so much outside of ourselves as opposed to seeking that which is within to allow it to blossom, come out of us. So that is what we're looking at with these God qualities, is first becoming love within, first recognizing our own inherent wisdom and intelligence, first becoming that peace, becoming that which we wish to experience in the world. We must be the change we wish to see. I've seen that about 100 times this week in different places. It's like, I think I'm supposed to say that today. We must be the change we wish to see, right? And creativity. Music stand, right? How many times have I used this? You know my example well. It was a thought in somebody's mind before it was ever in form. That's how creativity works, from the inside out. From the inside out. So we each possess these superpowers. Congratulations. We each possess these superpowers within us, these godlike qualities, and we experience them to the degree that we are receptive to them. Because we're a choice. Remember, we've got that layer of choice. And we can say, I don't want to experience love. I don't want to experience peace. I don't want to experience creativity. Or better yet, what do we sometimes say? And I'm guilty of this. I'm not creative. Well, I'm not creative in that way, but I'm creative in other ways. So, that's the beauty of this. We all have it. We all have these superpowers. How are we choosing to allow them to manifest in our lives? At what level? Superman had many powers. And he began to recognize these as a young child, didn't he? I think in that old show he lifted a car off of somebody in an act, But what if he said instead, nah, I'm going to sit on the sofa and watch TV. I'm not going out and learn how to use these superpowers. Figure out how to help humanity. I'm not going to do that. I want to play my video game. I'm going to stay inside. What if he'd have done that? Or what if the first time he came across Kryptonite, he'd gone, I'm so weak, I can't do it. I'm just like every other mortal man out there. I'm done. No more red cape. No more blue tights. No more big red S. I'm done. What if he'd have done that? Have we ever quit that quickly? Yeah. Sure we have. Sure we have. And I don't know if you remember, when he was faced with Kryptonite, what did he do to recharge? Anybody remember that? He had to go get in the sun. He had to go receive the light from the sun, the radiation from the sun, to recharge him back to his superhuman powers. Yeah. So we too have the same decision in our life each and every day. What is it that I'm going to do? How am I going to show up today as a superhero? How am I going to show up today as a superhero and use my superpowers? Imagine every morning if you woke up, that was the first thought that you had in your mind. How can I use my superpowers today to help the world? To help one person, to help myself? Imagine? Can you imagine how different life might be? Yeah. Well, let's take a look. Let's answer this perhaps by looking at our practicing the principles this week and see how we might be able to apply some of this in our life when we're facing kryptonite or when we're recovering from an experience of kryptonite, because we might have those occasionally. So the light of God within heals. The light of God within heals. And this is, again, a reference back to Superman and his kryptonite recovery. He would have to get back into the sun, back into the light to recover. And that's true of us. That's true of us when we deviate from the path. We have to get back to the light, don't we? We have to reconnect. Tap in, tune back in to the wholeness of who we are, to the light within us, to that divine spark that lives, moves, and has its being within us. God. And we do this through our practices of meditation and affirmative prayer. Those are wonderful tools that we use here to reconnect with the divine. Reconnect. You know, I had an experience last week, where I got a little discombobulated. Something happened that surprised me, and I was like, whoa, yeah. And realized that I needed to go within. I needed to process this. And the most beautiful transformation of my perspective occurred. And it's just a reconfirmation for me once again of the power of the tools and the practices that we have here to transform how we see and experience life. How we see and experience life. Transformative. Transformative. Number 2, imagination takes flight. Superman has the superpower of flight. Right? It's a bird, it's a plane. No, it's Superman. What were those other people thinking, by the way? It's a bird. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I digress. Our imagination is one of our most valuable mental skills. Would you agree? I mean, imagination can take us anywhere, can't it? Back in the past, out to the future. Our imagination allows us to fly, to soar, to create. It's one of our most powerful creative tools in the creative process that we have. Because if we couldn't imagine something different from what we currently have, could we have something different than we currently have? Probably not, right? Probably not. So our practice, Ernest Holmes says, he says, it awakens within us all the inner forces of nature and stirs into action latent powers which otherwise would never come to the surface. Does that sound like a superpower? Yeah. So we use our practices of visualization and visioning. Visualization is the practice of we know what it is. We've seen it, we've seen somebody else have it or experience it, or we've read about it, or we've seen it in a movie, whatever it might be, or maybe we've experienced it before and we want to have that experience again. We want to have that thing again, whatever that might be. But we have a concept of it. And that's our visualization. We hold ourselves at that higher vibration of that visualization until it manifests in our life. Visioning is the process where we open up to a new vision, a greater vision, something more expansive. We tap into that divine flow that's ever impressing upon us of the wisdom and intelligence of spirit. And we get a new idea. And then we can use our visualization of that new idea to see it come forward. So we've got 2 practices there for our power of flight. Our power of flight. And number 3 is our power to choose. Now, another Superman power was his amazing physical strength, right? He could lift, what could he lift? He could lift cars, he could bend steel in his bare hands, he could change the course of mighty rivers, according to the song. So he was really strong physically, wasn't he? He was really strong physically. And we may not be as strong physically as he is, but our strength is in our minds, isn't it? We have the mental power in our minds. And just like you might use a trainer to work your body muscles and to get muscular, we have trainers right here in our community that can help you train your mind, build your mind muscle. They're called practitioners of religious science. They're trained professionals who can work with you on training your mind in the practices and tools that we use in the study of the science of mind to have greater experience and expression in your life. And they're available to you for this. We have classes. We have our study group on Wednesday evenings where we go deeper into some of our discussions and processes and practices and things. And of course, being here on Sunday mornings. Study is a very important part of our teaching because it supports us in that acquiring of additional intelligence, the knowledge that we talk about, and understanding more and more, because there's always more, right? We never can learn it all, and we'll never get it all done. Yeah. The late Christopher Reeves, who played Superman in the 1978 movie, he said, what makes Superman a hero is not that he has power, but that he has the wisdom and the maturity to use the power wisely. To use the power wisely, even as a child, to use the power wisely. And Ernest Holmes tells us again from the book, Basic Ideas of the Science of Mind, he says, we need to constantly remind ourselves of the godlike qualities which lie within us by nature, and renew our daily persistent efforts to bring them up into manifestations in our lives. Daily, bring them up into manifestation, nurturing those seeds within us, nurturing those seeds. So those godlike qualities that we have of life and love and wisdom and intelligence, peace, creativity, joy, beauty, we all have them. Those are our superpowers. Those are our superpowers. So anytime your particular type of kryptonite comes forward in your life, remember that you possess these superpowers, these godlike qualities. And well, for a while, it might take that daily effort that Holmes is talking about. Eventually, like Superman, you'll be able to find a phone booth and don your big red S and practice the science of mind in action. So it is. I would invite you to join me now as we anchor this in an affirmative prayer this morning, as we just go within and recognize that there is only one power, one presence, one infinite life, and that life is God. And all of that is here now, present in, through, and as all that is. And we know that each of those qualities of God, to name just a few, of life and love, of wisdom, intelligence, of peace, creativity, of beauty, and of joy. Each of those is in each of us, individually expressing through our choices, our decisions, our perspectives. So knowing this day, I speak my word for and about each one of us, knowing, claiming, and accepting that as this life moves through us in dynamic ways, and we realize we are at choice, we elevate our perspective to the highest vibration we're capable of, to allow the greatest manifestation of our own magnificence to come forward in our lives, expressing the wholeness, the truth of our being, of who we are, who we have come to be and express, being open to the divine guidance ever around us, to the love impressing upon us, to the peace and the joy that we can be and express. So I know this day that for anyone that has anything on their heart that they're seeking prayer around, that as they bring that forward into their mind in this moment, into their heart, that it is lifted into this higher vibration of love that is infusing this room at this moment. And that whatever needs to be healed is healed, whatever needs to be transformed or answered or clarified, whatever questioning may be occurring, that the answer is revealed in, through, and as each one easily, effortlessly, joyfully expressing. So for this and so much more, I am so very grateful. Grateful for the manifestation of this prayer, grateful for everyone in this community, grateful for life itself expressing as us in each and every moment. How filled with that infinite joy I am. As I just release this into the action of law, knowing that the word spoken is the word made manifest, it is already done in the mind of God. It is already so. And we simply affirm this together and release it as we say, and so it is.